Hello everyone, welcome to Family Sunday. Today we're talking about another parable, a story Jesus told. And we're doing our story and Family Sunday all in one video again. So, here's the story. One day, said Jesus, a farmer went out to sow his seeds. That means planting them. He walked through his fields and he threw seeds left and he threw seeds right. He threw seeds all over the place. After he'd finished, said Jesus, some of the seeds had fallen on the path. Those seeds couldn't grow. In fact, birds came. They flew down and ate them. Some seeds, said Jesus, fell in rocky ground. There was too much stone, and though they grew a little bit, when the sun came up, they got scorched. They didn't have deep enough roots. They couldn't get any water. Those plants died. Then, said Jesus, some of the plants fell where there were weeds around. And though the plants grew, the weeds grew faster and taller, and they strangled those seeds. Those plants didn't grow at all. But some plants, they fell on the good soil. They grew and grew and grew, and they produced seeds of their own. Each one of those plants produced 10, 20, even 100 more plants. Those plants were the best. When Jesus had finished telling his story, his friends, his disciples, asked him a question. Jesus explained, some people hear about God and they forget about him straight away. That's like the seeds that fall on the path. They don't take root, they don't grow at all. They just get swept away. Some people, they hear about God and they're glad. That's like the seeds that fall in the rocks, but they don't have good roots. And then when difficult times come, their faith dies like the plants. Some people, said Jesus, they hear about God and they're glad and their faith starts to grow, but everything else gets in the way. That's like the seeds that fall in the weeds. All the other bits of life, they take over. The faith is less important. It can't survive. But some people, said Jesus, they hear about God and they're glad and they let God grow in their lives. They make him more important than anything else, and then they scatter seeds of their own. That's like the good crops, the ones landing on the good soil. That's what it's like when someone hears and understands about God. That's the end of our story, but let's talk a bit more about it. I wonder, we're going to start with the same sort of questions we usually do, so here they are. What do you think the farmer represents, or who do you think the farmer represents? What do the seeds represent? And can you remember what each type of soil represents? See if you can, there's 4 different sorts. I wonder, which of those seeds do you think that you're like? Yeah, some people, they say that the farmer might represent God or Jesus. And some people say, well, maybe the farmer represents us. I think it's helpful to think that the farmer represents us telling other people about Jesus and seeing what happens. Those seeds growing, I think that is like our faith growing. Sometimes our faith grows well, doesn't it? And sometimes it doesn't. I think that's a good way to think about it. I wonder, have you ever told someone about Jesus and they've just not believed you at all? Yeah, that happens to most of us at some point. We tell someone about Jesus and they just don't believe us. But what's important is to remember that it's not our job to make them believe in Jesus. It's our job to tell them, and we've just got to leave the rest to God, haven't we? Have a think about those seeds that fell on the rocky ground. Those rocks, they're difficult things that might happen, aren't they? And they mean that when the sun burns, it hurts the plant. When stuff happens in life, it can hurt our faith. What kind of things do you think might do that? What things could happen that make it difficult to believe in Jesus? There's lots of tough stuff that can happen that make it really hard for our faith to grow. So what can we do to make sure our faith keeps growing and that when tough things do happen, our faith doesn't die? Jesus said those seeds died because they didn't have good roots. We can have good roots in Jesus by finding out more about him. The more we know about Jesus and the better we know him, the easier it is to keep having faith when life gets really tricky. That's good, isn't it? We must make sure that we keep getting to know Jesus better by doing things like this, by coming along and watching Family Sunday. That's cool, isn't it? That this is going to help us have good faith. What about the seeds in the thorns? Jesus said those thorns are the other things in life that distract us from Jesus. What things do you have in your life that might distract you from Jesus? And what about the seeds in the good soil? This is my last question for you today. How can we be like the seeds in the good soil? Have a think. Do you know, I think there's lots of things we can do to help grow our faith, like coming to church or watching Family Sunday, praying, talking to God. We can make sure that we read our Bibles, or read lots of Bible stories. Those are the things that help us to get to know God better. The better we know God, the better our faith grows. That's cool, isn't it? That's the end of Family Sunday for today. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I will see you next week. Bye.